afternoon, guys, and everyone at home. Welcome to this episode of Minkof Samarot. Today, I am your host for this episode, From Indonesia to the World. Minkof Samarot is a collaborative program with the KBRI-Doha, Qatar, and KBRI channel, where we recognize some of the most high-achieving people and Indonesian diaspora here in Qatar. Today, I'm welcomed by two special guests, extremely talented at their own areas, who will be sharing their experiences and accomplishments. So here we have Navina and Nadine. Nadine, would you like to introduce yourself, please?
Hi everyone, my name is Nadine Gustana. I'm 13 years old. I'm a student at Qatar International School and I won the first place student champion in the World Scholars Cup competition for the junior division.
Thank you. And Rana?
Hello everyone, my name is Ravana Alia Azmi. I am a 12th grader at CIS and Alhamdulillah I have achieved the highest mark in biology Cambridge IGCSE in Qatar, and I also achieved first place in Qatar for best across 8 in Cambridge IGCSEs.
Before we begin, I'd just like to say that's some very remarkable things you guys have achieved, and I'd like to congratulate that. So let's start with Nadine. Can you please explain to us what the World Scholars Cup program is?
So the World Scholars Cup, in short words, is putting your knowledge to test in a fun way. There's 4 main parts to it: team debating, collaborative writing, Scholars Challenge, and Scholars Bowl. Team debating is where you debate in teams of 3 against other teams of 3. Collaborative writing is where you collaborate to write pieces of writing. The Scholars Challenge is an 120 question multiple choice exam, and the Scholars Bowl is a multiple choice quiz, but instead you're given a clicker and the questions are displayed on the screen.
So that all sounds really interesting. So we'll get on to that a little bit later. Ravina, yes. What is your passion with biology, and how did you accomplish such good things in the biology subject?
So ever since I was younger, my dream is to become a doctor one day, and so I really did focus more on subjects like biology, mathematics, and chemistry, and through that, I guess, it really motivated me to try to achieve high marks in those areas.
So would you say your passion for biology is what motivated you to achieving such good grades?
Yes, of course, through my passion for medicine as well.
Okay, that's really interesting. So moving on to the next question. So these are all obviously not something that you would achieve easily, right? So there's obviously some preparations and practices. So what preparation did you guys do beforehand?
So a month before the competition, I started reading through the curriculum starter kit little by little. I made notes, I summarized it in my own words, and for the debates, I practiced speaking to myself in the mirror to sort of get an idea of how these debates are structured and to get over my fear of speaking in front of other people.
Yes. So obviously speaking in front of people is also really not easy. So how do you overcome that fear?
That's a good question. It was also pretty difficult for me to do that, but my advice is to just let yourself go when you're debating and focus on your words instead of the people in front of you.
Yes. That's also a really good tip I feel like everyone can take for themselves. So how about you? What are your exam tips and tricks for everyone, doing their exams this summer?
So my advice to everyone that's doing their IG this summer is that make yourself a schedule. For me personally, what worked is that I studied 2 subjects a day, mostly past papers from either websites like Dynamics Paper or GCE Guide, and I would study those regularly.
Yes.
And I would also study or summarize notes from Z Notes or Save My Exams. Those really helped. And make sure you get adequate sleep right before the exam. And I say that make lots of prayers, especially that we're coming to the month of Ramadan. Make lots of du'as, and especially ask your parents to make du'a for you and for your success.
Yes, those are all wonderful tips. So let's go back to the preparation bit. So obviously you guys are doing lots of practices, preparations. How do you balance that with your social life?
So it's a really difficult thing for me because to balance my social life and my academics, I just plan out my day and plan out my week. So for example, this day I'd go out with my friends after school, then the next I'd probably study at home to focus. And sometimes you can do a little bit of both, You can go to a study cafe with your friends, or you can go to the National Library. and you can also like do an overcall, like if you can help anyone in case you're struggling with something.
Yeah. So helping each other is really what got you there, right?
Yeah.
So World Scholars Cup, is it an individual competition or a team competition?
It's all in a team. You're all in a team of 3. I was in a team of 2 when I first entered the competition, but then a girl from another school needed a team because her teammates didn't show up. So alhamdulillah, it was easier because she joined our team. I didn't have to speak twice in the debates.
Yeah, that sounds wonderful. And how about you, Ravana? How do you balance that?
So I'd have to agree with Nadine that balancing study and social life is something that's very difficult. And what I would do is I would make a schedule, my daily schedule in a week, and I would try to follow that as best as I can. And I would try to be more lenient with myself during the weekends, and I would spend those time with my friends and my family.
Yeah, so what I'm getting is not to put yourself in under too much pressure, making sure that you have that balance, right?
That's correct.
Okay, so moving on to Ravana, what are the subjects that you took for your GCSEs?
So in total, I took around 8 subjects: the sciences, mathematics, English first language, environmental, business studies, and ICT.
Yeah, and which one would you say is the most difficult?
So in my opinion, physics was the most difficult, not in terms of content or anything like that, but more so when solving past papers or when doing the actual exam. Physics was the most tricky.
And what would you say to the viewers who are taking the same subjects as you? What tips could you give them for those specific subjects?
So like I said, I'd probably make a schedule, and I tried to follow that as best as I could. 2 subjects a day, 1 difficult and 1 easy, more easy subject, and practice those past papers, a lot of them. Try to read summarized notes as well from Z Notes or Save My Exams. And I think those are what got me through.
Okay, that sounds like really good advice. I should probably take for myself personally. All right, so in terms of motivation, obviously it's not very, easy for you to go through all of this. You're taking time from your social life. So what is your biggest motivator for, defeating all the challenges and the obstacles when you're going through all of this?
This is a difficult question. So my biggest motivator is that my goal before I joined the World Scholars Cup competition was to get in the global round, was to qualify for the global round, which I did, alhamdulillah. So that's what kept me going. Some days when I felt lazy, I'm like, this is your dream, Nadine, you have to keep going for it.
Yeah, and speaking of global round, it's happening here as well in Qatar, yeah? Yeah, and what are your goals for the global round?
My goal for this one is to qualify even further to the Tournament of Champions.
Yes. So, can you explain what the Tournament of Champions is?
So, in World Scholars Cup, there are 3 different stages. The regional round, which I just did, the global round, which is held in a different country from the regional round, but alhamdulillah, it's here in Doha. And then there's the Tournament of Champions, which is held every year at Yale, for the people who did really well in the global round.
Yes. So for the viewers who do not know what Yale University is, it's a very renowned university. It's one of the Ivy Leagues in the USA. And the fact that you get to qualify, and there is a high chance that you qualify there. So that is something really amazing, something to really think about. So this goes on for both of you. What would you say is the biggest challenge with trying to achieve all of this?
My biggest challenge, trying to achieve all of this was so the World Scholars Cup curriculum is it's a lot. It was a lot to process for me at first because it was a lot. So I was like, oh my god, how am I going to take all of this information in before the competition? So I tried different methods of studying, and sometimes I just wouldn't remember what I studied. But I just continued and tried until I finally found a way that I understood the materials. And I also had to overcome my fear of speaking in front of other people because I had to do that for the debates. But as I said earlier, you just have to let yourself go and focus on your words. So that made it a lot easier during the debate.
Yeah. That sounds really understandable, but for some people, I think it also is quite difficult, right, to forget what other people is telling you. So how do you manage to make yourself the center of that podium, the center of the stage? So how do you do that?
I just look straight and look around the room. Try not to focus on anybody else. Just remember that what matters right now is myself and what I'm saying, not everybody else.
Yes, that's a very nice tip. Thank you. And Rivana, talking about your GCSE, what are you taking for your AS levels?
So I'm taking 4 AS levels, the sciences and math.
Yes. So is it difficult? How is it for you right now?
To be honest, in my opinion, IGCSE was much more difficult, maybe like juggling 8 subjects. That's what got me. But alhamdulillah, it's going great so far.
Yes. So what do you think is the biggest challenge for you, the difference between GCSE and AS level? Is it a big difference?
I guess in terms of the length or the period of study, it's different because IG takes 2 years and AS is 1 year. So you do have to memorize or learn a lot more content in such a short period of time. But in terms of questions, it's very similar, and studying as well is very similar.
All right. So you took triple sciences and math for AS levels. Are you planning to take that on A levels, or are you not doing A levels?
So alhamdulillah, I already got accepted to a university in the faculty of medicine. So because of that, I don't think I'll be pursuing year 13. So I think I'm ending my studies at AS levels.
Okay, that sounds wonderful. And how about you, Nadine? What is your current interest in school? What subjects do you really like right now?
Same as Ravana, I'm taking a huge interest into being a doctor in the future. I'm still not sure what specifically I'm gonna specialize in, but I'm probably gonna take the similar subject as Ravana when I'm going to IGCSEs.
All right, so triple science and math?
Triple science, math, English first language, and maybe geography or environmental studies, you know.
Alright. So Nadine, a lot of people here might be really interested in the World Scholarship Program. So for those who really don't know, how would you say to them how do you approach this competition?
To approach this competition, first of all, not many schools have this option, but you also have an option to go like privately, but you have to find a team of 3, which is pretty easy, like with your friends and stuff. And the curriculum starter kit is on the website if you, in case, and you can just find the nearest global round near you.
Yeah, and speaking about the curriculum starter kit, what type of subjects do you learn in World Scholarship?
There are 6 subjects: science, special area, history, literature, social studies, and arts and music.
Right. And each of them are all relating to one another, or is it completely different?
Yeah, it's all relating to this year's theme in World Scholars Cup, reconstructing the past.
Yes. So the past is a really important subject, right? And right now we're focusing on the future of the world. So as a general advice, what would you give to the viewers here who are really, completely mesmerized by the work you guys have done? So general tips or specific tips you guys could give? Anything?
So I actually almost didn't go to the World Scholars Cup because I was so nervous about the debates, but then I pushed myself to do that because I reminded myself of how much I can go with just entering this program. So if you're just nervous thinking about it, or if you're having doubts, do it because it's worth it in the end. Even if you go home with not as much medals, it's still a really good learning experience for you, and you'll have so much fun in the competition itself.
Yeah. Speaking about medals, how many did you get?
I earned 10 medals.
10 medals, and are they gold medals, silver medals, bronze medals?
6 gold and 4 silver.
That is impressive, mashallah. And Rivana, I'd just like to ask, what are some of the biggest challenges with trying to get on top of everything? Because a lot of IGC students, they get really sidetracked, procrastinated. So what are your challenges when you're doing all that?
So personally, I really struggled with maintaining a balance in study life and in social life, and as well as I think it's frequently observed in IGCSE students are burnt out. You'd feel after studying for long periods, you'd feel burnt out. So I guess that was a big struggle of mine as well. And what pushed me through it is that don't overwork yourself, make sure to take enough rest, and have a good support system, your family and friends that will always help you and support you throughout the way.
Yeah, exactly. And Nadine, what were some of your biggest challenges?
My biggest challenges was honestly it was the team debates for me. So in World Scholars Cup, each team debates 3 times. Alhamdulillah, I won the first one. The second one, it was really difficult because I was chosen to be on the negative side, but I didn't agree with the negative side of the motion, which was really difficult for me to come up with points and argue with the next team. And I did lose that debate. It was okay, but I lost a little bit of confidence for the third debate. But alhamdulillah, I won that debate also.
Yeah, so you managed to bounce back and do even better, right?
Yeah.
So what place did you place for the team debate?
For the team debate, my team got a 3rd place trophy for that.
Yes.
And for the individual, I got 6th place.
Right. So personally, what do you think is your biggest strength in that tournament as an individual scholar?
I think my biggest strength in the whole tournament, it was probably my ability to push forward even though I lost confidence on some bits, because as I said earlier, the second debate that I had lost, and in the middle of the Scholars Challenge, I was so confused, like I was having so much doubt, like if my answers were wrong or right, because I was under a bit of stress. I just couldn't understand it, and in the middle of the Scholars Bowl, I realized that we were not thinking about the questions too much, and so yeah.
Yeah, that's understandable, to be honest. You all lose confidence, but the important thing is to bounce back. Yes, guys, make sure help yourself. Don't worry too much. Well, we discussed a little bit more. All right. So, losing confidence is obviously going to happen to a lot of us, right? Especially when we're facing such difficulties. So how do you conquer that? How do you conquer that fear and challenge?
So personally, the way I did that was that I tried to push through. I tried to make myself motivated again, and maybe just do things that I am really passionate about so that I can regain that confidence and I will be able to, again, step out of my comfort zone.
All right, so besides the things that you guys have done, what are your interests in life? So whether it be other things, instrumentals or music, or...
So I'm really into the Vocaloid fan. I'm really into Vocaloid, which is like, I don't know how to explain it. It's like, it's a software where you, with the voice that you can make it sing with, and I also crochet on the side. Like, I make a lot of small projects.
So it's really important to maintain a hobby. How about you?
I also crochet, actually. I took lessons when I was younger,
Yeah.
and I still do. I crochet quite a bit, and I love playing volleyball. I was at my volleyball team for a while, and those are some of my hobbies.
So how do you think that having and maintaining this hobby, especially during GCSEs or having another tournament, help you to go through the tournament? So having a side hobby, how do you think that helps you?
So, in being in the Vocaloid community, I've actually made a lot of friends in school and online from it. And for my in-school friends who are also into Vocaloid, like, because of our mutual interests, we've become like really close, and they've helped me through some time, because one of them was also doing World Scholars Cup, but not in my team. She helped me with like some of the subjects, because her older sister she went to the tournament of champions, so she was able to give me some advice on that.
So
And-
these hobbies, I'm sorry,
I'm
yes.
sorry. So, and crochet for me, it's relaxing for me, you know, like whenever I'm stressed, I just take a break and work on my next project.
That's nice. And how about for you?
I think as me as well, like crocheting especially, it does relieve some stress or some pressure you might have. And, you know, being in a volleyball team, you have friends that have mutual interests as you, and that creates a support system that really helps to get you through difficult times.
Yes. is. So on a more personal note, you guys have basically attained the highest possible award, right? You've won first in your competition in the junior category and you got first in biology. How has that changed the way you perceive these subjects? So how does it motivate you to do even better on other subjects, or does it give you this pride, or
It does both. Like, it motivates me. Like oh, I can go places with like studying a lot, even with for world scholars and for my other subjects. So it's motivated me to study more, and with that method I use for studying World Scholars Cup, I even used it on study materials that are a bit easier to understand. So like it's easier for me to like soak up all the information, you know. And it also just gives me this pride, you know, that I won first place. I feel so much more confident now because I was so unsure of myself during and before the competition.
Yeah. And how about you?
It really teaches me to not have doubt in myself and my capabilities, right, as an individual. And it definitely is a confidence boost, but it also encourages me to try harder and to work harder to achieve my goals and hopefully continue to make the people around me proud of me.
Yes, and that leads on to my next question. How did the people around you, your close friends, expect and react when they found out that you guys achieved all of this? How did they react?
I received such positive reactions from my friends. Like my friends were spamming me with like, "Oh my god, congrats, Nadine!" I'm really grateful to have friends like them. And I kept my achievement a surprise from my parents actually until I got home. So I surprised them with that. Again, I received such positive reactions. I love my parents and my friends. Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm so sure they're proud of you, and for the right reasons too. So, did you just come into your room and show up with 10 medals suddenly?
Yeah.
Okay, that must be a really interesting sight. So, how about you? How did your friends react? Your parents?
First, I did inform my parents first and foremost, and their reactions were priceless. They were so happy for me, and part of them didn't believe it. It felt so surreal, even for me. Even right now, I still can't believe it. And my friends received it so well, and even my friends, some of them, they also achieved really high marks in IGCSE. So it was a shared experience, which was amazing.
Yeah. And some of these things that you achieve, it's not really related to school. As for like Nadine, it's a complete separate tournament. So obviously balancing social and that side is important, but how do you balance school and these tournaments?
For me, because World Scholars Cup, it's sort of more, it's the way you study is, it's like the way you study for a test. So how I do it is that sometimes I get bored of studying one subject, so I just do World Scholars Cup because it's more fun. Then when I'm done doing that, I do my school subject. And again, like how I balance my social life, I sometimes dedicate one day to World Scholars and then another to studying for my tests.
How about you?
So I do take extra lessons for Islamic and purposes, and how I juggle that is that I maintain a schedule and I make sure not to overwork myself just in studying, and I think that's basically it.
All right, so I have another interesting question for you guys. So if you were to be able to repeat all of that again, if you were able to go back in time, what would you do differently this time?
So what I would have done differently is that in the World Scholars Cup syllabus, we were given a lot of movies, books, or plays to analyze. And instead of just analyzing it, I would study even more. I would put myself in the shoes of one of the characters and just like study it until I've understood it so fully that I can answer questions as if I was one of the characters in that. And I would also try to be more structured in the way I speak for my debates.
So in terms of debating, that's what you would improve. All right, how about you, Nirvana?
I'd say that I wish I managed my time a bit better, but I guess that's it, and I hope that I will be able to manage my time better in the future. But overall, I'm very satisfied with how I handled the past.
That's wonderful. So in terms of GCSE to AS, you said the shift wasn't that big different. But how do you personally feel as, so your IGCSE self? Do you think that it's very different from the way you are now, or?
I mean, I guess so. It's been almost a year, and I have definitely progressed and developed as a human being. And I think now I focus more on my social life, and I try to manage my time better, and I try to not overwork myself and not stress too much about my studying, which is great.
Yeah, which is really beneficial, right?
Yeah.
So also adding to that, what would you guys say to your, at that time self? So what would you say to yourself before you did your competition?
Before I did my competition, I would probably say, try not to have too much doubt in yourself, because if you keep on worrying about the negative things, then you'll probably forget about all of the positive things that may happen, And I'd also say to myself that it's not the result in the end that matters the most, but it's the effort you put into it and the process of it.
Yeah. And how about you, Nirvana?
So I personally wish that I didn't stress out that much, and I would tell myself that don't worry too much, have your trust in Allah, and inshallah things will work out, and basically just to spend and cherish your time with your friends and family, and spend your time wisely.
Yeah, these are extremely well and beneficial advice I'm sure everyone at home can take. Another thing is, what other outcomes did you guys take, or what things did you guys take from those moments? So whether it be positive or even negative, really.
So I took it, I said this a lot, but don't have doubt in yourself. And I also gained a lot of experience, like socializing with other people I've met before. And during the debates, I learned how to speak in front of other people without getting nervous, Yeah, that's it.
Yes, and Bella?
So it really did push me out of my comfort zone. And I would do more internships afterwards because of it, and I would also do more volunteering because I know that one of my strengths is in biology. So I did want to pursue it, medicine. So I did focus on my university applications through it, and I think that's it.
Yeah, speaking about universities and volunteering, could you please brief us on what you've been doing so far in that area?
So first of all, I did an internship in Will Cornell during the summer, and I did over 100 hours of volunteering over the past years, and that's what I did so far, I believe. I also attended a research competition at Will Cornell.
Yeah, that's very impressive. So this volunteering, so what did you do in the volunteering?
So mainly in the volunteering, I received 50 hours in volunteering for the 2-week internship in the Will Cornell, and the others I volunteered at a hospital, at a hemodialysis center in Al Wakra, and mainly I observed, and I would actually try to communicate my best with patients and try to make them feel less lonely and relieve some of that mental stress they might be having.
So that's all wonderful. So you basically sort of put yourself in a position where doctors who are way older than you are putting themselves in your life. So it's basically like role-playing doctors. That's honestly impressive. And for us, you're so young and you're already doing this. So what other positive things did you guys take in terms of maybe socially or?
I actually got the opportunity to speak with a lot of new people, and some of them I'm even still friends with now, from World Scholars. I also took this as a lesson to try hard on everything that I can. I'll push myself to do the maximum that I can do,
And how about you, Rebecca?
I'd say the same. I'd say that I should try my best in whatever I'm doing, right? And definitely the bonding experience with my friends. It's a very beautiful memory.
Yeah. And all this, achieving such high competencies, all of these are nice. In the end, the result is good, the progress is nice, but there are always going to be some downsides. So what do you feel about the downsides in this progress, I guess, or the developments within that area?
My biggest downside during World Scholars Cup was in the second debate that I'd lost. I did not know how to function correctly at all because I changed from being the first speaker to the closing speaker. I did not know how to phrase what I was saying at all. I didn't know how to speak basically. So I felt so stressful because oh my god, the other team, they're all looking at me, I couldn't let myself go in that moment.
Yeah. And how did you build better for the next debate? How did you make sure that you are going to do better in the next debate?
I made sure that I made more effective notes during the research time, and I switched back with my teammate because we both felt that we were both comfortable in our original positions, which was me being the opening speaker and her being the closing speaker.
And how about Ravana? What was the downsides of doing all that?
I guess the downside is just a lot of pressure, especially after achieving that. There's a lot of pressure from your to do well for your family,
Yes.
friends, and as well for the school. And I think as well as it was a struggle at that time because of that, right?
Yeah. So how do you handle all that pressure?
So I guess the way I handled that pressure is just that I know that I have a very loving support system, and I just try to reinforce that in my mind, and I try not to put that much pressure on myself. Yeah.
All right, so let's imagine that you guys are going to accomplish even better things, like you in the tournament, in the qualifying tournaments of champions, and you possibly getting another highest grade in possibly biology for AS. Yes. So how would you guys feel, and how do you make sure that you get to that point right now?
I would feel so overwhelmed with happiness if I got that because alhamdulillah, this I wouldn't expect myself to do it alone, and to make sure that I'm pushing myself to do that. Again, I'm doing the maximum effort, the best that I can to do really well in the global round and qualify for the Tournament of Champions. And to also make sure that I get to that point is that I'll make sure to take breaks for myself because whilst I was studying for the regional round, I kept feeling so overwhelmed with the content of it all,
So it's good that you're already reflecting back on what you could have done better. And how about you, Vanna? What would you have done to get to that point right now?
So I think I'm very satisfied with what I have achieved just as far. So I would just try to follow my schedule, try to follow what I've been doing in the past, have a little more fun, enjoy my time. And I think I'll just continue to do my best in everything that I do so that hopefully I can achieve even more.
Yeah, so after AS levels, after uni, what next?
So I hope that I can specialize as a gynecologist one day and maybe even, open my own clinic, hopefully, one day.
That's interesting. And how about you? After you going to Tournament of Champions, after Yale, what next?
What next? I want to start over again in the regionals. I want to keep attending every season so I can get better and better and build more experience and build more memories with World Scholars Cup until I graduate.
Yes, until you graduate. So what are your interests right now in school? So what are you wishing to do besides World Scholars Cup?
It's sort of similar to Ravana, as I already stated, to specialize in medicine in the future. I kind of think I already have my IGCSE subjects planned out, and I'm planning to rejoin MUN again next year.
Oh, speaking about MUN, can you please explain what MUN is?
So it's basically Model United Nations. From the title itself, it's pretty obvious what that is. Model United Nations is basically where you're in the real United Nations. You're discussing real world issues, as if you're the government of a country.
Yes. So I myself also have experience in MUN, and personally speaking, which one do you prefer more, World Scholars Cup or MUN?
I was in MUN last year, and I would really say that I enjoy World Scholars Cup more than MUN.
So, in what sense do you enjoy World Scholars Cup?
I enjoy it better because the topics that we're talking about aren't so serious, because in MUN you're just discussing real world issues, like things going on in the world right now. And I just feel like that, because I was in year 7 when I was in MUN, so I felt like it was a little too big for me to be debating about right now. Like, I felt like I don't have a position to speak on that topic.
Yeah, and in World Scholars Cup, it's talked about reconstructing the past, I believe. So, what are some of the key points of that theme?
It's mainly like trying to build the past, mainly before COVID, back to where it was before, and it's mainly focused on how we can sort of bring these past things back. We can implement these things back into our daily lives today.
Yeah. So it's basically like trying to get the best version of the past and trying to put it today.
Yes.
So, yes. Speaking of trying to get past and put it today, how do you think you can make an impact with what you guys have already accomplished? Now, how do you think you can impact more to the society right now?
Sorry.
I guess it's a pretty difficult question. So, can you talk more about your volunteering and talk more about the medicine?
So I volunteered, and I think I want to do some type of volunteering as well in the future. So, like to answer your question before, I hoped that I'd be able to help the less fortunate, especially in Indonesia, since there's a large number of people in poverty there, and I hope that I'd be able to one day provide them with accessible and one of the best healthcare for them.
That's wonderful. And I think one of the things we have to remember is that, yes, we're an expanded country, but we're also Indonesian, and it's also important to give back to the community there. So, how do you think, which type of impact have you guys already making here that you would like to bring to Indonesia?
I'd like to make Indonesia proud with what I achieved with World Scholars Cup. I want to promote it to all of my relatives in Indonesia, so they can try it. They can achieve something big like this too, maybe even bigger. Yeah, that's really.
And how about you, Bella?
I'd like to achieve the same things, and inshallah, if I do decide to pursue my studies in Indonesia, I'd like to achieve things for my own country, right? And I'd also like to inspire and motivate the youth out there, so that an Indonesian too can achieve such great things.
Yes, exactly. Promoting the youth and recognizing their talents, right? So you talk about wanting to specialize in which area?
Gynecology.
And why that area specifically?
So I've always been interested in that area because mainly it's one of the best occupations in Islam for a woman, and it's something that's so beautiful, welcoming a new born baby into this world and just seeing the whole process as someone becomes a family, or
Yeah, that is actually really beautiful, and your motivation and everything is honestly extremely inspiring. So you've done the first step, which is doing your GCSE and scoring really well. What are the next steps to the future?
So I hopefully I can score great marks as well in my AS levels, and I try to focus on my studies in university as well. And I want to also, like Nadine, inshallah, I hope that I can join competitions, and I want to really put myself out there and step out of my comfort zone, hopefully in the future.
Yes, that's really impressive. And how about you? What are the next steps from now?
My next steps again is going into the global run. Like Ivana, I also really want to do well in my IGCSEs and hopefully attend the next year's QISMUN conference so I can gain more experience from that. And I also want to look into doing some activities outside of school rather than just joining in school clubs.
So what are some of the activities that you're interested from outside the school?
From outside of school, me and my friends currently have a music group from inside of school. We're hoping to make it serious, I also want to try looking for other competitions outside, similar to a World Scholars Cup. And I'm also looking into like maybe trying a new sport like volleyball or badminton, you know.
So, Ravana, you talked about I believe it was research, yes?
Mhm.
So, what was the research about?
So there was a research competition, and me and a few people as teammates, we attended the competition. Mainly it was for fun. We didn't really take it seriously, and we researched the mental health of the people in Qatar. That's the main topic of our research.
So, is it like a general mental like healthy, or is it just more specific into certain probably mental diseases, or what was it?
Yes, mostly it was like general. We surveyed the general population, no specific age groups, mostly people above the age of like 15, I believe, and we just surveyed their mental health.
And what was the process like? So, did you survey them? Like, did you interview, or did you?
So first we had to submit an abstract to Will Cornell, and then after that we did have to send out a survey through barcodes. We printed them out and handed them to people in the metro station, and we tried to send them through social media to get as many responses as we could. And we also did a few interviews as well, and from that we did create a poster and displaying our results.
And what was the results like?
So the results, most of the competition or of the survey?
Of the competition and the surveys.
So of the survey, most people agreed that mental health is not being taught enough in Qatar, and there is some sort of stigma behind it. And unfortunately, we did not score during the competition, but overall, alhamdulillah, I'm really satisfied with the result.
Yeah, so on a final note, what are some short tips you'd like to give to the audience here?
My short tips would be, as I said before, even if you're having doubts, push yourself to do the maximum so you can achieve something like me or even bigger. And remember, it's not really the result at the end that matters, even though alhamdulillah I got it, but it's more of the effort you put in and the process that's happening.
And Rivana?
I agree. Put in your best in anything that you do. Manage your time wisely, and make sure you have adequate rest. And definitely increase in your du'as, in your worships. And I think that's my main advice.
All right, thank you guys so much for being here. Your speeches and your talk was extremely impressive, and I'm pretty sure people at home are going to take a lot of things home, and hopefully by then they'll be the next junior, they'll be the next senior winners, and they'll be also the highest achievers for this GCSE. So thank you so much for watching this Minkof Samarot, and I am your host, Sarah Saeed. We're going to be closing, and thank you. See you on the next episode. Bye bye.